Hello, everybody. I am the host now. All right, give it one more minute.
I just put the Zoom link on the Bancroft webpage in case people are looking for it that way. So
Thank you. All right. Well, let's get started. Do we need to do introductions? I think everyone is, well, I don't know. I'm Jason Stein. I'm the treasurer, PTO treasurer. I have kiddos in 3rd and 1st grades. Sven and Edie are their names. Anybody else?
Sure, I'll go. I'm unmuted. My name's Diego DePaz, and I'm the principal of Bancroft Elementary.
I'm Brianna Nichols. I am the assistant principal. Hello, everybody.
Hi, I'm Justin. I have a 2nd grader at Bancroft.
Good. Thanks for joining. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Alicia. I've got a kindergartner and a 3rd grader.
Hello.
I'm Lauren. I have a kindergartner.
Welcome.
I think Kimberly's driving, so she probably won't introduce herself.
All right.
This is Emily Terrell. I'm a kindergartner in kindergarten. His name is Booker. Sorry, we're in the middle of dinner.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Absent today is V. Paul, who's not feeling well. And then a plug, as we currently don't have a PTO president. We had 2 co-presidents going into the year. And then both had other things come up that they were unable to do. So I don't know if we need to put a plug in actually at this point, but something to consider for next year is we'll probably be starting with no president, and we might want to actually, I think, re-elect all the positions. So if you have any interest in running for any positions on the PTO board, please feel free to reach out and talk about it. The agenda for today was we got updates from Principal DePaz, school pictures for distance learning, which has come up a couple of times, preparing for a spring year-end celebration, thank you effort for teachers and staff, especially those moving on, and then parent development programming, what we might be able to promote amongst parents to build cultural and diversity awareness that's engaging and meaningful. Is there anything else to be added to the agenda before we jump into it? All right. Ready, Mr. DePaz?
I suppose so. Thanks, Jason. Good evening to everybody and welcome. Thank you for being here for our PTO meeting. Yeah, I just don't even know where to start. There's just so much going on. I think many of you might have heard too, there's some news that came out today out of my kids' district, Robbinsdale area schools. There was a student that brought a gun to Plymouth Middle School and shot it off a few times. Thankfully, nobody was injured or hurt, but I just think there's a lot of heaviness. There's a lot of people in dark places. There's a lot of people I don't know, looking out for help or seeking help. And so I'm not going anywhere with this. I just think there's a lot of heavy times right now. And I think we need to take care of ourselves, take care of our kids, take care of each other. We had the verdict in the Chauvin trial that came out last week. In preparation for that, Minneapolis Public Schools moved to distance learning for the 3 days. I guess thankfully the verdict was guilty on all 3 counts, and there was, just one step of accountability, but obviously not complete justice for things. I just think there's a lot going on in people's lives, and I just want to, start by acknowledging that piece. And I'm at a loss for words right now, just because there's so many things, but I just want to take the time to acknowledge that piece. It's also, I just want to say it's a maybe stressful time too for some of our staff. I do know, I think I mentioned this at Coffee, Tea, and IB in our last PTO, but because of the CDD and there's significant changes happening at Bancroft as far as the staffing and the number of staff that we're going to have. We had to cut $1.88 million out of our budget. And a lot of times at schools, that is people. And this week is our interview and select week for our licensed staff. And so there's several teachers and other staff that are interviewing this week. Interviews start tomorrow night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. So I just think there's also this heightened level of anxiety and worry and just kind of stress on, what's my next step as a teacher. So I think there's that piece out there too for our staff. Non-licensed staff, their jobs got posted today. And so they'll be looking at those postings. I think we had 6 or 7 non-licensed staff that were accessed due to the budget. Unfortunately, Miss Linda is one of those folks too. So that stress is real for our staff too. So I think there's just, again, a convergence of all these pieces, and we're still in a pandemic. The weather is dreary. I don't know where Lauren is. It doesn't look like my dreary outside my window, but maybe she's in somewhere sunny. But there's all these pieces going on. I do want a couple updates. Number one, in-person learning. The deadline to change your mind or to come in person is today. There's nobody in the office, and so today was the last day to make that change. We will have an additional 4 more students that made that change to be coming in person. So I think we're right about 60% now with our kids. I had the numbers up in front of me. I don't know where they went. Let's see. Yeah, we have about 330 kids that are going to be in person, which is about roughly 65%. And then about 185 kids that are remaining in distance learning, so about 35%. So that's kind of where we sit right now with that in-person and distance piece. Oops. And like I said, we'll have 4 more kids coming in person. We did, just on the staffing piece with that, we did have Miss Schoberg, who was a 2nd grade distance learning teacher. We did have her come in person to support the 2nd grades, which right now have the highest numbers in person in their classrooms. They have 26 and 26 each. And so she will be supporting the in-person kids by taking some small groups, providing some literacy and math support for the teachers and the students. And then I want to say she had 10 or 11 kids that were in her class for distance learning. And that was one of the reasons why we made that move. And then those kids were moved into Miss Ramgren's class, who was another distance learning 2nd grade teacher. So she's taken on all of the distance learners. And so that's one of the big staff moves that we made just recently. Today was the first day that Miss Schoberg was in person supporting 2nd grade. We're starting, I think it's on the agenda for later, but we are starting to finalize some of our spring dates for things. I know school pictures is on there. Our picture day was rescheduled to May 13th. I believe that's a Thursday. There'll be more information being sent to all families about that this week shortly. If you are a parent who's already paid for your picture package online, that will roll over into our new date. So there's nothing more that you need to do, but that information again will come to all the families. And then we are opening it up to any students and families that are in distance learning. This information again will come home this week that they can come in anytime between 10 and 1, and we'll have more specific times too, but between 10 and 1 to have their pictures taken if they choose to. So it's kind of an opting in to having their picture taken. Linda will share more information in the family communication, but there's not, the pictures aren't necessarily connected to anything. And so in the years past, we've had all the kids get a picture taken and every kid's gotten a free yearbook. And so we know that that is not going to happen this year. There's just a lot of obstacles in the way. And so if families want to, in distance learning, especially if they want to opt in, obviously they have to pay for a package and then bring their students in. And I think there's more conversation later, Jason, that people were suggesting portraits or other way to, just get some good, fun memory book pictures in. But that's kind of the update with school pictures. We have a kindergarten registration event that is tentatively scheduled for May 20th. And so we're looking at mostly a virtual option with that, and families can still come in to register the incoming kindergartners and high fivers. We have a field day that's tentatively scheduled for May 28th. Lots more details to come. And then we are in planning stages. And again, I think it's an agenda item for later today, but some sort of farewell fair for our current families, and then also some sort of welcoming event for the incoming families, as we are right now a school of 525 and about 160 kids that are currently in Bancroft will come to Bancroft next year, and we'll be gaining, about another 250 kids, I'm losing my math, 250 plus 160. How much is that? 410? That's a little too high. Anyways, we have about 150 kids that are going to remain at Bancroft next year that are currently enrolled. And so we want to make sure that we're acknowledging the 300 plus, and then the fifth graders that are moving on to different schools, but then also welcoming the kids that are mostly coming to us from Northrop and Anderson to start next school year. Brianne, I don't know if there's anything else I missed. I just feel like there's just a lot happening. I know we have our ILT, our instructional leadership team meets tomorrow, and it's just like a long laundry list of to-dos and kind of closing out the year and finishing things off. We have 7 weeks of school left. So I just think there's a lot still to do, and we want to finish strong. But
I think the biggest thing to recognize is just that, we're all transitioning. There's a lot of transition that's happening in our community right now in general, right? I mean, we're transitioning kind of out of this pandemic a little bit, we hope. But in terms of Bancroft, we're transitioning. A lot of our families are transitioning, and our teachers are transitioning out. And I would just say that, we're working really hard at continuing as adults to make sure that we're showing up every day for our kids, and kind of just looking at what the next steps are in the transition too. So there's kind of those pieces that we're just working on putting together and hoping that, that we can do, I guess, the best in. Our teachers, I think Diego mentioned this, our teachers are interviewing this week. A lot of our teachers are. We have one position we're interviewing for this week. I don't know if that was mentioned. We have we have an opening for an ASD autism classroom position that's open. So we'll be interviewing for that. Otherwise, we don't have any other positions open at this time. And then, I think that's it. I think you covered all of it, Diego.
One big thing, we do start MCA testing. That does start tomorrow. So our students in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade that are in person will be starting the MCA test. And so that is still a state requirement that we have to do. And so our students will be participating in that, and that's scheduled throughout this week and next week. The kids have multiple times. I think we talked a little bit about this at our last PTO, or maybe coffee, tea, and IB. But we do try to chunk out the testing so the kids aren't sitting there for 3-4 hours a day. I think the longest period is an hour that they have for the test. And so we want to make sure that they are also prepared for that, but they're not just overtired and over tested. And so the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders will be starting those pieces tomorrow.
All right. Thank you for that. Any questions?
I guess I'll just make a comment because it's a small group, even though it's being broadcast live on YouTube, and that freaks me out a little bit, but it's okay. But I just want to say, I think I appreciate all of your thoughtfulness, and despite all of these moving parts and pieces, I just, like, as a parent going through all of this too, I just recognize there's like, I don't know, I'm sure there's got to be stuff amongst the staff, but I can speak as a parent. Like, we've had a whole lot of transitions over the last year, and I think you know, in a therapy view, I've heard this concept of a grief balloon. And like grief can come in different ways, you know, people passing away or traumatic events and things like that. And you can have like multiple grief balloons that they kind of fill up with these events, and then they bounce across, you know, the room and hit all of the potential pieces of grief. And I'm only mentioning that because like I feel a little bit about that with like the transitions with my kids like leaving, and it's been a, you know, I hit like anger and denial, and you know, trying to get to the point where it kind of the air of my balloon settles and it kind of is able to cope, but kind of just recognizing where you started out, Diego, with the heaviness of everything, because we can have multiple grief balloons happening at the same time. And I think like we're all kind of working through those little pieces, and I just like want to say I do appreciate you all continuing to show up as hard as everything is. It's like I think like that's been helpful for everything that's been going on. And I feel like you know, these little snippets here and there, whether it's PTO or coffee tea or like your responsiveness for emails or phone calls, it's just appreciated. It doesn't make it any it doesn't remove any of the reality, right? But it does, like, I think it's been nice to have. And I think I might miss that. That's part of my little grief thing moving around too. But I say thanks for showing up and giving us these little snippets, you know, and dealing with a little bit of disorganization of PTO, because we're just, you know, working through things too. So
Thank you, Alicia, for saying that. And I mean, this job is humbling, you know, too. It's very humbling. And so I appreciate those kind words. And, you know, I think we're all doing what we can, because I think, you know, we all have our own things too. I mean, we all have our personal things that we're working through, dealing with, you know, and I think a quote that I've used a lot with our staff and is just because someone carries it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy. And so I think that's kind of what we're doing right now. Like, we're all trying to carry it well. We're all trying to show up for our kids, but it's still really heavy. And so we're just trying to make it work for ourselves. And but I get joy every day out of working with the kiddos and greeting them at the door every morning, and just the fun things that they say. So that gives me energy. I purposely went to kindergarten morning meetings during distance learning because they immediately filled my bucket. I went to Carissa Marquardt's class that first Wednesday. And I shared this like multiple times in different meetings, because the kids acted like they hadn't seen each other in like 6 months. And it was the cutest thing. And they just kept saying, oh, there's this person. Oh, hey, hi, Mr. DePaz. Hi. Oh, Miss Monica's here too. Like, it was so exciting for that 5 minutes before Miss Marquardt could like rein them all in and actually officially start the morning meeting. But it's that kind of positivity, energy that it makes me keep going each day. So I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate obviously all of your kiddos. Any other questions? I don't have any other updates, but it's a busy spring. The closing of a school year is always busy. And so there's always lots going on, but if there's any questions, please let me know, or please reach out to Brianna and myself, or Linda too, if we can help in any way.
All right. Thank you for that. I had not heard about the shooting at Plymouth school, but glad no one was hurt. The next item on the agenda was then school pictures for distance learners. And there had been some email threads about this. And I think the last one that I saw, Mr. DePaz, was that you all might have had some plans to do this, but that you're open to suggestions if anyone from PTO had suggestions. Was there anything new since then?
No, I think the only thing I want to share is that I guess unfortunately that the pictures from Life Touch will be for the students and families who purchase them. And so, and I understand there's a lot of inequities and unintended consequences by that. But, if families can drive the kid in and they pay for the pictures, if they're in distance learning, then they can get the pictures. Similarly, if the students are in person and the parents purchase the packets, then the kids will get their pictures taken. In years past, we've had all students get their pictures taken, like I mentioned, so they could all get a free yearbook at the end of the year. This year, we're not doing that. And so I think part of it is just to provide that option of families to have school portraits or school pictures. I know there's a few people that, wanted to have the school pictures or have a collection of years, previous years. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. I know at one of the PTO meetings, there was a conversation, I think it was V. Paul who brought up, like, he'd be willing to go take porch portraits or in some manner, like try and capture a picture of everyone. The other idea that we've been talking about with Linda is, maybe doing some sort of memory book where families could submit their own photo. And it doesn't have to be a school picture. It doesn't have to be a picture that we've gone and taken, but then people submit a picture for a memory book. So then you can at least capture an image or something fun from every kid in your class, to take on with you to, I guess, memorialize or have fond memories of this year. For many, it will be their last at Bancroft. And so that was kind of one of the ideas that we were throwing around. And so I'm definitely open to, that's where I'm open to suggestions. Like I said, I know the Life Touch pictures create some unintended consequences, but there are some other opportunities for kids and families to share photos and I don't know if V. Paul is still willing. He's not here, so I'm not going to say he is, but to take pictures that way.
Was that talked about it? I just can't remember. Was that being talked about in terms of like the school would put out a request for submissions for the picture sort of thing? Is that kind of the direction we were headed there for it?
I think it was more brought up in the fact of in the event that, like, really trying to look for like an equitable standpoint. So we have students who are in school who can get their picture taken, students who can drive them to school who can get their picture taken. But what about students and families who want their picture taken but don't have those options? And so I think there was that piece. My understanding, I guess, and something I wanted to reiterate was that in the past, having your picture taken was for every single student to be included in a yearbook. And so that was kind of that, if there was that equitable piece of whether or not you're purchasing the pictures, you're going to be included in this yearbook. This year, because there is no yearbook, it's really a service that we're doing for families who've kind of requested, and it's a way for families to get a portrait that they can have in their packet or whatever. And so I think the difference then being that this year we're not including those in any sort of yearbook. And then as Diego started going on about the memory book. So I guess that's kind of where it came from. And V. Paul had just mentioned, well, if nobody can get their picture taken, possibly I could do porch portraits. And that kind of just ended there as we said, no, we're having a picture day and we can move forward with a few things. So.
Sure. Just to follow up, a couple of quick questions. Who normally pays for that? Does PTO normally pay for the yearbook on a yearly basis, or is it the district, or?
I think it's the school, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so the school normally does, yeah.
Okay.
And then part of the reason that they wouldn't be included is because it's so late in the year that we're having it, is that there's not time even to get that into a yearbook.
Sure.
Again, the memories thing, like a memory book that we wouldn't call a yearbook with those Life Touch photos, is something that's doable, and we're kind of trying to work through that and what that would look like.
Okay, that was like one of my follow-up questions would be then, like, was that kind of one of the ideas for the memory book would be people submit somehow a photo? Or, I mean, again, if V. Paul was interested, he could volunteer to take a photo too, if that was, people didn't have one to submit. But I'm guessing people, for the most part, would pick one and somehow submit that to the school, and then we would organize a memory book from that. That's kind of that's where we're at, right? As far as
Yes. Yes.
pictures
I don't know,
beyond
Linda, do you
life
want to
touch
talk to that at
purpose.
all? No, she doesn't. I think one of the things that I saw, and I was doing a little research, was like even like screenshots, you know, of
Sure.
kiddos like online, or and then in addition to asking families to submit a photo, you know, I think there's multiple ways to get a photo into a book. It's just really like kind of organizing all those little pieces. And even, you know, we have a teacher, well, we have many teachers who are really great with technology. We have one who's all about like Bitmojis and has a Bitmoji for every, or like avatar for every kiddo. And so she's done a couple like class pictures with that. So maybe something like that would be going in there, things along those lines.
Cool. All right. So this is an active project that we're hoping to commit to, or we're working on it and we're putting it together. I guess where are we on that as far as that goes? Are we doing it? Or is it kind of still like we're talking about it?
We're talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because without the life touch photos, that kind of threw a wrench into the works.
Sure.
And there's just not going to be time to include that. And so just rethinking what does a memory book look like, getting some teacher buy-in to help contribute to that, parent buy-in to, you know, make some contributions to that. And I don't know, I mean, if ideally, are there folks here who might be able to help me out, help us out to try to put some parameters on this and come up with a design? What is this going to mean? What is this going to look like? I mean, we do have a lot of things to draw from. I mean, there are all sorts of school, you know, student projects on Seesaw. We had the talent show. I mean, there's screen grabs. It's like this memory book is going to be a physical thing and not digital. But like, I think we have there's a lot of content we can pull from.
Yeah. Yeah. Sort of the visual representation of the talent show that they did
Yeah.
a couple months back. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, there's no lack of people wanting to participate. So I guess then should we be talking about like a framework for that, and what the scope should be and what we should do, like what we want to include in, what we don't, and then maybe take a vote on a list of those things?
And maybe before we even get there, Justin, I can kind of see where you're going with this, but maybe we should just say if there's a couple of parent PTO volunteers, that sounds like kind of what you're asking for, Linda, is for some parents to step up and see if there's enough of us here who would be able to meet. And then I don't know if we need to take a vote if there's no money involved, but if there was like a committee of people that could meet offline or have a secondary meeting to help plan for something like that. Does that sound like something you're looking for right now, Linda?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Alicia, for putting words to that. Yeah, because definitely the document center can print this for us. I think I'll double check with them this week to see what they think their workload is going to be like towards the end of the year. But ideally, I think we should have, you know, get something together and have it ready, you know, at least midweek, the second to last week, so we can get it distributed to kids and so that they can have it and the distance learners have time to pick it up before the end of the school year and that sort of thing. But yeah, if we can have a committee or, you know, a working group on this, that'd be really great.
So it looks like Michelle volunteered as a potential help. Justin, would you be interested?
Yeah, I'll volunteer to help get the ball moving on this.
I actually might have some time too, as random as that is, but I'll volunteer to help too. So
Yeah, I don't know how much I don't know how much help I'll be with the organizing part, but I do book design for my job, so I can definitely do that part.
Cool.
Justin, you said you'll help get it going. So you want to reach out to us?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, where can I access like the email list to just get everybody on there?
I'll send you our emails, I think. Yeah, and then, or I'll just send an email out. How's that? And then I'll include.
Yeah, cool. Send an email with our names on it. Linda, do you want to be included in that? Okay, cool. And then we'll go from there. We'll find a time that works and we can set up a couple of hours or something to like hash some things out.
Sounds good. Did I miss anybody else? So Michelle, me, and Justin, and Linda. Just-
Oh, I might want to include V Paul in there too, just because.
yeah. Cool.
Is it something we'd want to mail out to the distance learners to make sure they get it? Or do they have need to otherwise come in?
One thing I was thinking was that if we are doing a farewell fair type of thing, that definitely could be available at that point. And then after that, we could assess where we're at and how many are left. And then the school could, drop a few in the mail. I bet we probably would end up with maybe like 50 or so left.
Yeah, that's definitely an option. At the end of last year too, we did drop-offs because we had to clean out desks and do all that kind of stuff, and we just ended up dropping off some of the things on people's doorsteps. So that's an option too, depending on how many, like Brianna said, how many are left. We could mail them or just drop them off.
No, and if that's something we can budget for, is just to, be able to put things in the mail for some of those, that'd be great.
PTO could certainly do it. I mean, pending a vote, but.
I still have a lot of stamps.
Oh, yeah.
I bet there's some stamps. So
Yeah, I still have a lot of stamps. We should be
Awesome.
okay.
Okay. Anything else on that one? All right. The next one was preparing for a spring year-end celebration. That was one that V Paul put on here. I'm not sure where that one was at, or if that's started, or what we might look to in years past. And
Well, I think part of that has to do with that so many of our students are leaving and heading to other schools, and just to have some closure. But yeah, with the current circumstances, it's kind of hard to figure this out.
Yeah, I think that was part of the idea, is having some sort of event to provide either closure or farewell or just some sort of acknowledgement of people's time spent at Bancroft. I know there's families that have had, 3 to 6 kids come through, and they've been here for many, many years, and now they have to go to Falwell. I mean, no offense to Falwell or anything like that, but it's just, the reality of things now. And I think just as far as event guidance and things like that, we're still in a pandemic. We still have to follow CDC guidelines. One of the things that I think I was brainstorming with Linda and Brianna is perhaps doing something. If some of you were around when we did our open house, when Bancroft completed our construction project, and then we had an open house in the spring of that first school year, where we had a couple food trucks, we had some balloon animals. We just, obviously you could go in and through the building. I think we have, again, I want to make sure I'm not a super spreader event. But I also, we have the playground, we have the field, we have the blacktop. We had an open house this fall where you came and met the teachers too, and kind of did that little windy around thing through our blacktop. So we have some ideas that we could do something like that again. I think we could have the food trucks come. We did not pay the food trucks that came for our open house. They charged families. I think they only had like 2 or 3 items on the menu. It was a sambusa truck and a taco truck. And I think that was how we could get them there, because they were able to keep all the profits. It wasn't a fundraiser or anything for Bancroft. But that was kind of one of the ideas that I think we were brainstorming, is how to get just an event like that, but also still recognizing, we're in a pandemic. We still have to follow CDC guidelines. We can't have, I think, more than 150 or 200 people. Family groups have to be 6 feet apart, which is going to be really difficult to try and manage too. And again, I don't want to be the one managing that and then having a super spreader event. So all these things we have to really take into consideration as we're moving forward in this planning.
Can I just throw out there, sorry, this is Emily. Can I just throw out there, as a kindergarten family, trying to like connect with other families and, going from distance learning to in person and not being able to move through the, in the building or have events and stuff like that has made it a little difficult even to, as my kiddo comes home and says, hey, I want to play with so-and-so. And I'm like, okay, I'll awkwardly send a note in your backpack to send a note in their backpack in case they want to call us at some point. So just wondering if we end up doing some kind of end of year, if there can be some kind of, I think back to like, yearbook signings when you're older, but just brainstorming something like that, because I know there's going to be kiddos moving to different buildings, but who might want to stay in contact where they wouldn't have otherwise made that connection earlier in the year, maybe for kids who are staying or going to different buildings and et cetera. So whatever we decide, just trying to figure out a way for kids to have an opportunity to stay connected. And for those of us who are newer to the building, trying to make those connections initially. So just something to throw in there as we talk about what that could look like.
Yeah, Emily, I saw your comment about the student directory, and I know that was a big push that PTO had to try and make those connections because of being in distance learning and families wanting to know. And unfortunately, we can't like necessarily provide all that information as a school. And I think there is a directory out there somewhere. It was the opt-in directory. I don't know, Jason or Alicia. I can't remember who was kind of Alicia. Okay. If they have more information on that or how we can get that out to people.
I can send you, Emily, an update. I haven't updated it for a long time. I have zero idea how it's been used. But I do know the other thing that I'm not going to have time for is the reshuffling of kids. And so I know I kind of just let it go after the return to school because my kiddos like changed classrooms. I know a number of them did, and I did not have the energy at that time. I won't have the energy to recommit at this point in the year to reshuffle. But all the kids will be in there. So I'm sure like if you said so and so, you asked them, you could find their name if they're in there. So I think that all of the people who've opted in have opted in. So I believe. I can send you an email when we're done here, and you can get that information. I can add you in, and then send you a copy of the once we get your info. So.
Yeah, and I think I just know the nature of all of this has been really hard. And normally at Bancroft we have a family event each month, and that's a great way to network and get to know families, or somebody keeps talking about Booker and you're like, oh, that's Booker and that's Booker's family. And you can finally meet, who kids are talking about. And unfortunately, we haven't had that opportunity. Same thing at pickup and drop off. People like come and hang out. And I think Mandy called it loitering. She likes to loiter at Bancroft. And, so people ride up on their bikes and pick up their kids, but then they sit and talk because the kids are playing at the playground or they're in the little foyer, by the cafeteria waiting for everyone. You get to meet kids and families. And so, yeah, that's been a lot of those normal things that we haven't been able to, unfortunately, do. And being a new kindergarten family, that's really hard because, you're new to a school. There's many of you haven't even seen your kids' classrooms. You haven't even walked in our building. And so I can't even imagine how difficult and tricky that is. I get it, and I don't get it because it's hard, but hopefully next year we'll be a little more freer to move about the school in a sense.
In terms of the preparing for the spring year-end celebration, is that do you want some volunteers from PTO to collaborate on that, or what's with the next steps or what's needed?
I would say that I think as we look at, we just started talking about it kind of, Diego and I and a couple other members who meet once a week. I think we have a few more things to pin down. And then I think that as a school, we could reach out to PTO for, you know, our needs or thoughts on that. I don't know, Diego, if you have something else that you want to add to that, but I think we're almost solidified, or we've thought about a date and then just trying to figure out, we have basically some reading to do on the COVID constrictions and all those pieces, and just a little bit more thinking around that. And then I think we would definitely reach out to PTO to support in a few of those ways.
Yep.
Yes, what
Yes.
I said, right?
What Brianna said. We have, I'm looking through our spring event guidance that we received, which is through Minneapolis Public Schools, which also takes in the guidance and considerations of CDC and MDH and all those pieces. So that's what we're working on. And we will reach out to PTO when we have solidified our date, and then maybe some parameters around anything that needs to be purchased or paid for. I don't know. And we can have a vote at our next meeting if necessary.
Thanks for putting that together.
All right, anything else on that one? All right, the next one was thank you effort for teachers and staff, especially those moving on. And this was another one I didn't have a lot of information on that VPAL had put in here.
I'll just say, I think, and maybe part of that has to do, I believe, coming into May, we end up with a teacher appreciation. There's a teacher appreciation week coming up soon. And normally the PTO has something to do with some of that. And so maybe that would just be a good place to start with that.
What are the limits? I remember we wanted to buy gift cards previously, and we're limited by like $5. Is it if we wanted to do something for specific, those same constraints apply? And so are we looking to do something different, like cater a meal or something, or what? I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, so I just looked it up, and actually Teacher Appreciation Week is next week, May 3rd through the 7th. So Brianna, you and I need to get on top of that too. So if you talk to our legal department, gifts can be no more than $5. So $5 is the max of a gift that can be accepted. And so even when I'm doing lunches or things like that, we try to keep it $5 and under per teacher. I think the last time you guys did the gift cards, and that was very much appreciated from everyone. That was fantastic. And we also supported a local business. And so I thought that was great. You know, I think a lunch, a dinner, a breakfast, bagels, muffins, scones, anything like that, I think would be much appreciated from the teachers as well.
Can we do bagels now? Yeah.
Sure. I know we weren't supposed to have outside food at the beginning of this. I don't know where the stance is on that now. We get Baker's Wife donuts every once in a while, but don't tell anybody. So I mean, I can look officially, but I think, well, this is on YouTube, so everybody knows now, but so I think that could be an option.
So PTO has the option to ambitiously order something as extravagant as bagels and coffee and cream cheese or something like that for teachers next week. If it just arrived, we wouldn't find it in the trash immediately.
No, we would not find it in the trash. Maybe in my office, not in the trash. Just kidding.
Okay.
Don't drop it off in Brianna's office. Okay.
All right.
Are there any as a person with a special diet, are there any special diets on the staff that we ought to consider?
I mean, I think there's a few teachers who are gluten-free.
A couple
Otherwise,
vegan.
and then there's like vegan and vegetarian. And so if we're thinking about bagels, if there's any sort of gluten-free option, there could be a few of those. I think less than 5 staff members who are.
I also have dietary needs. SIFT has donuts that are both vegan and gluten-free. Maybe we could get some of those and just label them as vegan and gluten-free, and then also just put the ingredient list on it, because generally people who have one food allergy have multiples.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing.
I heard sort of a proposal as someone with limited time and energy. I'm gonna just say, like, is there any other ideas? SIFT sounds great to me. PTO members.
Sounds great to me.
I will get you guys some numbers too once if you finalize something, just so you know how many staff are in person.
Perfect.
Kind of feels bad leaving out the DL people, but
if we did a mix, we'll just staff have to. Do they ever have to come in? We can give them the gift cards so that way they can have it. They don't ever have to come in for anything. Okay. Well, never mind. We could send out cards.
if we said there was a gift card, maybe they would come in.
Did they find the previous gift card from earlier in the year still in their box for us? Double.
I think those were all picked up actually, so that might be an incentive. I don't know.
Great. All right, Justin, did you have?
Do we normally put out some kind of message too? I mean, as we've mentioned earlier here in the meeting too, this has been a particularly challenging year in a number of different ways. And since we have staff that are leaving both, because they're moving on to something else and in some cases, maybe not as willingly, should there be some kind of statement from the PTO and just that is sent to all the teachers and staff, thanking them for all they've done for the Bancroft community? Sort of just, I mean, maybe it's a little bit formal, but just something that just says, hey, we see you and we appreciate what you've done. Is that something we could, or somebody could take on, I guess?
I'm in support. Would you be willing to take that on, Justin?
To draft a letter like that? Let me tentatively say yes. I'll probably press my communication specialist wife into the task, but I can't really necessarily say for her, but I think we could at least tentatively say we can get something out like that. When would we like to see the bagels and everything happen? I think it should maybe go out at the same time. Like next week? Is that when we're thinking here?
I would say sometime next week, because next week is like the appreciation week. So sometime next week.
Okay, we'll get you something written up.
Is there a preferred day, teacher staff wise, that's like more amenable to snacking, or every day is amenable to snacking, I suppose?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, the official Teacher Appreciation Day is the 4th, so that would be, I believe, Tuesday. I always aim for Wednesday because it's kind of that midweek pick me up. I don't know. Whenever I've done bagels or treats for staff, it's always been on a Wednesday. Unfortunately, there's no teachers here tonight. I'd love to get their perspective, but I think any day would be a welcome treat.
Is there an ideal time? Like 7 a.m. or like mid morning?
Everyone arrives at 7:30, so 7:30
Okay.
would be good. And I guess Wednesdays we don't have staff. We have staff meetings on Tuesday, so they wouldn't get them until later. So maybe Wednesday would be a good day.
I would be able to order, and I might be able to deliver, so I can just kind of take that on if that's helpful.
Okay.
Justin and your team work on draft letter.
Yeah, we'll work on it and have it to you no later than this weekend, I'd say. I mean, it's something that I don't know if we shoot it out as an email and I don't know, Linda, if you would then handle it or how we want to do it, but we'll draft up something and get you that by this weekend at the latest. And so we can, and however we want to push it out. I don't know if we want to have a print it out and have teachers read it with their bagels or.
I could print out a version and just deliver it with that, so it could be there, and then sending out it through email. Maybe Linda could help distribute or something like that. That would be nice. Whatever the internal staff email would be.
Yeah, I mean, any staff can send an all staff meeting message, but yeah, that'd be great to have it like a printed version with the actual food. Yeah.
Cool. We'll do both then, and I'll get you that. I'll just send that to you then, Alicia, and then you can look at it. And if you have any changes or want to discuss that, you can just let us know. And but we'll get it to you this weekend. So
presumably SIFT does bulk coffee. I don't know how to otherwise say that. Does anybody know?
I don't.
If not, maybe we could get from Sister Sludge again as well.
I know Sister Sludge does bulk coffee. I assume that would also be appreciated. Yes. Okay.
We can do that one. I can actually pick up and drop off on Tuesday morning too, if it's better for you, as long as I'm back here by 8 o'clock.
Wednesday would be easier for me to do a drop off, but if we wanted to do it Tuesday, sounds like there was a staff meeting on Tuesday, so
Yeah.
Wednesday is easier. So. All
Yep.
right.
May 4th, we have a staff meeting. So maybe Wednesday would be best to have a little time.
Cool.
Anything more at the moment? All right. Well, thanks. Let us know if you think of anything else that we could support on as well. And then the last item was Brianna. What can we promote among our parents to build cultural and diversity awareness that's engaging and meaningful?
Sure, and I'll speak to that a little bit. Alicia, who looks like she is on this call, had brought up at the last PTO meeting just about the skills that she has and the knowledge that she has, and in ways to kind of move some of the work and work forward with parent education. I mean, there was a whole list of things. I don't know if Alicia, you want to talk to that at all. But just I'd like to acknowledge that work, and then also work to, build a relationship with Alicia and somebody in the PTO possibly to kind of move some of that work forward. I don't want to just let that go, right? And so Alicia and I talked a little bit at materials pickup. She had mentioned maybe a survey as well. And so I just kind of wanted to bring that forward again and see what we could do to move some of those ideas and everything that you had, Alicia, forward. So.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, who would like to partner with me or how I would like to do this, because I'm fairly new to the PTO or, activities. But I think that there's a lot that can be done collectively to know, sort of take a measurement and temperature of the school to see where we're at with sort of cultural understanding and how we're incorporating and welcoming parents of diverse backgrounds and honoring that in the best way possible, so you can show, I guess, true Bancroft colors. And I just think that there's a lot of potential there. I feel that as a parent of color, we haven't been embraced as much as we could be, because we have a lot to offer and encouragement. And, it takes multiple times as well to reach out to families the first I know of, in my experience as an American Indian, I purposely put myself out there.
Did we lose Alicia?
I think, oh, there she is.
There,
All
you're
right.
back. You
Oh.
froze for a little while. The last thing you said was you purposely put yourself out there and then you froze.
Yeah, sorry. I think
No, you're
there's
fine.
internet issues over here. Yeah, so I purposely put myself out there, and that is not how American Indians usually are. Like, it takes a lot of outreach and making sure that there's a safe space for us to also share and be welcomed. And it takes like multiple times before someone will feel comfortable from our American Indian community that you're a trusted educator. And I think that just goes through historical trauma in a variety of ways in our families. But I know teachers are already so busy, and so when they reach out, maybe once, maybe twice, the third time might get lost, or some things don't happen, or even the school doesn't. And that's completely understandable, because I think, teachers and staff are just overly taxed, and I completely understand. So I want to be helpful any way possible as a parent to, bridge that gap. And as my job in another school district as a cultural liaison for our American Indian community, I want to sort of offer that knowledge as well. And I know just from my previous work, I used to work at Anishinaabe Academy before I had my 4-year-old. And I remember Bancroft being the second highest of American Indian students in the school district. Of course, that's before the whole reconfiguration, but I still think that there's going to be a significant amount of American Indian families after the change. So yeah, I guess I'm willing to have ideas and open a dialogue on, I don't know if anybody would like to have a separate meeting, and I can, organize that or do whatever to help facilitate. But I think it would be a really great step even to make plans on how we can better approach that for the fall and how that will look. So I don't know if anybody has any feedback or.
I'd just like to say thank you, Alicia, for stepping forward really and offering to do this kind of volunteer work, because this would be my third year on the PTO, and I pretty much think since I started at PTO 3 years ago, when my son was a kindergartner, we were talking about diversity issues then, and how PTO is pretty much made up of white people. And so really appreciate you stepping forward to offer that. And I know that as somebody who's been on PTO, I think one of the things that we've kind of fallen down on maybe is following up. It seems like we get a good amount of diversity in parent participation at the beginning of the year, like the first meeting of every year, and people come, they're interested to find out a little bit more. And they fill out, I think there's a form that you fill out that says, hey, these are some things I have skills in. I'd like to just get more involved. And I don't know how much engagement there is on that issue there. So I think from the PTO standpoint, we talk about wanting more diversity, but there is certainly a lack of engagement. And some of that's due to the fact that it's parents and people's schedules are already busy, and it's really tough sometimes to, and since it's all volunteer, sometimes too, things just get lost because people don't have the time, or they just don't, it gets lost in the cracks, let me say. So I appreciate you stepping forward with this. I'd love to hear if you want to put together a smaller meeting, a committee meeting. I'd love to attend that, but I feel like maybe the best way would be for you to keep bringing this subject up at regular monthly meetings. And maybe we even have like a report from, you could be a diversity chair, you can volunteer to be the chair of a diversity committee, and then just on a monthly basis, just give an update on, you know, what you're thinking about doing, what we would plan and like to do as a PTO, and ideas, and we'll just get the ball rolling as we're going into next year, I think. Would just be my suggestion. I love that you're on board. I'd love to support whatever it is that you're interested in doing as far as increasing diversity and parent participation. So that's a long-winded way of saying thanks, and love to support whatever ideas you have to bring forward.
I would love to support, but I won't be here next year, so it breaks my heart. I can't do it. But I'm wondering if there's like a way for, is there like a email or outreach or anything like that that we could do with, you know, amongst the whole families, like of just sending out some sort of message to all the families, just saying like we're interested in partnering or having like a subcommittee that might meet in the summer or something like that, and spending some time over the years, something like that over the summertime. I'm just throwing that out there, Alicia, just because I know like sometimes you
Is that mine? I can't hear you.
that might be you, I think.
Sorry, I came to my sister's and I think my mom said they're having internet. I think they're working on the fiber optics or something here with the internet stuff. So it's been kind of sorting out. So, but doing a summer committee, you said,
I just shared that, you know, maybe if you're interested, and I don't know if Jason might be able to help that, but just like, or maybe Linda, just like if you wanted to do a call out to parents that might be interested in working on you with this over the summer might be helpful. I would love to do it, but I'm going to be departing, so I have other areas that I'm going to be reaching out to. But I think like that would be maybe something to do, because I know this isn't totally representative of even all of PTO parents that have always shown up, but there are other families obviously who this might interest them. There could be some spaces that could be made. So that was just like an idea just to throw out there too.
I wonder about something that, Alicia, when we had spoken a little while back, you'd mentioned just about like a survey about a few different things that parents and families could be interested in. And I feel like that could be a good place to start, even with the, I mean, we are shifting populations. And we could even send a survey to not only the students that are currently in our building, but eventually students who will be coming in and families who will be coming in, and kind of just to see what's of interest and where families would like to see a lot of the work go. And so maybe that would just be a good place to start. I don't know.
yeah, I think surveying and reaching out, inviting, you know, on your email listserv for PTO, if there's anybody that wants to join. I mean, I'm really willing to, since being so new, I'm willing to follow you guys to see how best to set this up, but I don't mind also helping with that facilitation, and taking over when I kind of learn the ropes of, you know, how do we send out emails to invite people on like a diversity for PTO, or to have that subcommittee. So yeah, however you guys would like to have that look. I do think, you know, taking a survey and seeing ideas of what the community, of the school community feels would be really great to open up and offer how to welcome families and bring them in, or and then doing that some more when the new families come in too. So I don't know if anybody would like to have a smaller subcommittee, or would you guys like me to come to Bancroft one day and we can work on that, or however you'd like to let me know.
It looks like there's a few people who are willing. So it looks, Jason says he's willing to support the work and make things more welcoming for all. And I heard Justin say that he was interested. I wonder if just setting up, a separate meeting to just really focus directly in on that work and then to move it forward.
Katie's turn.
Would be good. And helpful. I don't know if Justin, Jason, if either of you have thoughts on that either, or anyone else who's on the call.
Yeah, I mean, being on the plant fundraiser committee, I guess it's I guess all the committees work a little bit differently and they're all pretty informal, and I think largely there isn't that much that happens from month to month meetings of the full PTO. So I'm trying to think, I mean, what would work great? Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to get you my email and then we could communicate. That's usually, I think, how people do it, is we'll exchange emails and then you can reach out to people and say, hey, do you want to talk about this, or make some kind of time outside of, the formal monthly PTO meeting to like just hash out some ideas and stuff like that. I think that's a good idea for a start. So again, Alicia, would you mind sending Alicia my email or sending,
Yeah,
I just don't remember how to access that. Is that all on Gmail?
it's all through the Gmail system.
Okay.
It's
All right.
I'll loop you in, Alicia, onto the PTO list. And I might actually just, I might just have Jason just add her to the group. I mean, and then you can just follow along. I think at this point of the year, I think the more the merrier, because we're kind of bare bones at this point, but I think it'll be helpful just so you can stay in the loop and yeah.
Great. I'm really looking forward to getting that starting and in place.
And thanks for
Thank you all.
coming. All right, so three of us will connect and figure out a plan between now and next PTO meeting. That sounds great. Thank you. That's the end of the formal agenda. Is there anything else to discuss? Oh, hello. Nothing more. All right. So Principal DePaz, you'll get us those numbers at some point this week on what we should plan for Wednesday morning at 7:30. And any other things that we can do to help support any of the initiatives that we talked about today. Let us know, especially on that school pictures thing, if we need to enlist VPOL and do any of those kind of things, or however it might roll out.
Yeah, should I just send that to you, Jason, and Alicia, or just one of you?
Both, yeah.
Okay.
Divide and
And I'll
conquer.
connect with Linda to just try and make some sort of finalized plan on memory books, pictures, things like that, so we can have that information to move forward.
I've got some notes here, Jason. Would you be able to send that out to the broader PTO?
Yep.
Great. I'll forward them to you and then just include that and make sure I connect everybody who needs to be connected to the best of my ability. If I don't reach out, and I will try. So just kind of standing in on secretarial duty for Sarah. So
Thank you.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Great.
Thanks,
Take good
everyone.
care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good to
Take
see
care. Bye.
everybody.
Have a
Thanks
good
for
night. Thank you all.
Thanks. Bye.